Thank you, Victor Robles. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Saturday, September 20th, 2025. This is Tony Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. And speaking of 5 Hour Energy, I mean, I feel like I just took about like 30 of those after the last few hours. Good Lord. Mariners beat the Astros tonight, 6-4. Totally normal game. And I know Anders and Chris already talked to you guys about this one, but we need to as well. We're going to talk about that catch. We're going to talk about George Kirby's awesome night. We're going to talk about tomorrow. And oh, by the way, Cal Raleigh now has the most home runs in a single season in Seattle Mariners history. That also happened tonight. Yeah, so I mean, we got to start here. Victor Robles flies out the side of our screens and saves the day. Saves the Mariners. Saves us from heartbreak. Take us through your emotions watching that play develop.
I mean, you know, it's just normal because I knew they were going to win. I never really doubted it.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
I totally believe you.
I know the exact moment I knew they win. When I saw the replay of that ball going into Victor Robles's glove and not touching the ground at all, I knew that they had won. So really, I was never sweating it. Like, I knew Bizzardo would get that big strikeout, and then I knew Spire would come on and get the bigger strikeout against the righty with those lame, you know what, Crawford boxes out there in left field. Nothing threatening about that matchup whatsoever. Vargas was going to give up the grand slam. You got to give him a little bit of hope so that you can dash it appropriately and just kind of, deliver the final kick to of the Astros and their dominance over the AL West. So yeah, no, it was all went according to plan. So I felt really good. You know, it was almost boring, one might say.
Very. Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, I was just chilling. You know, I was kicking back. You know, just it was like any other day. It was like it was like a random Tuesday game in the middle of May against the Rockies.
It's just a series, in September.
Yeah.
There's no real importance to it.
Yeah,
so
nothing like that. Totally. So yeah, so with that catch, in all seriousness, and the doubling up of Jake Myers at second, the Mariners have won this series, and they have officially put themselves in the driver's seat to win the American League West for the first time since 2001. It's crazy to say. That is crazy to say.
That it's been since 2001. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, we'll go with that. Just what a catch. I mean, you see that ball get hit into shallow right, and you go, all right, well, there it is. It's 6-5 now. It's going to be at least runners on the corners, maybe even runners at second and third, depending on what happens with the throw into the infield. They're going to blow this. I mean, that's just the default, right? We're Mariners fans. This heartbreak has come in so many forms and fashions, and this would just be the latest, right? And a long line of heartbreak. And then Victor Robles literally just flies from the side of the screen and makes that grab, and like Cal described it, like literally a flash of pink, and it's Victor.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Victor might have the two best catches of the year to kind of bookend his season. The guy who's going to end up playing in 20 games out of the 162 has the two best catches of the year. So,
and think about how poetic that is, right? Like, his season almost comes to an end making a play like that, diving into that screen there in San Francisco. And then, for him to work his way back, all that. And we saw the emotions of that when he threw the bat at Joey Estes and all that, just months and months of trying to come back, and his mother, unfortunately, passing away and all this. And he works his way back to make a play like that in one of the biggest moments in the history of the Seattle Mariners. And I mean, that has to go down, especially if they do finish this thing off and win the division. Like, that has to go down as one of the most important plays in the history of the Seattle Mariners. Right? Like, I don't listen to the moment, but like,
I mean, it doesn't undo either of the doubles. It certainly not better than the Cal walk-off. To clinch it. So I mean, like it's probably in the top 10 or so.
Sure.
So yeah, it was a really nice play. I mean, there's no way around it. It was a very nice play, and it was crucial, obviously, to you winning that game, because it's not just the whole like, oh, the Mariners are going to blow this, that's what they do type of thing. It's also that this is Munoz on 3 days, going 3 days in a row. And he didn't really have it tonight. It was very clear. The command was a little bit off. The control was, especially with the fastball. And so even if, like maybe other times you look at that and you go, well, runners on first and third with one out, up by one. Munoz is perfectly capable of getting a strikeout. He's perfectly capable of getting a double play ball. He's done it all year. So good Munoz can do that. But tonight wasn't good Munoz. So on top of all the almost 50 years of conditioning that this team has put you through, you also have to add in the very real fact that, like, yeah, Munoz is tired. He's getting to the end of a long season. He's pitched 3 days in a row for the first time this year. It's just one of those things. Houston has all the momentum. So there were a lot of things going against you in that moment. And Victor, didn't save the season, but he certainly saved the game. And this is the most important game of the year. So yeah.
And he saved the vibes. I mean, had they blown this game, I feel like that would have undone a lot of what's happened over the last 2 weeks. Maybe not all of it, but and it obviously would ultimately depend on how they, would respond tomorrow. But God, if you blew that, you were up 6-0. And I mean, like, Espada gets thrown out, like they are on tilt. Like, that very much looked like a club that knew that things were falling apart for them. Yeah. And then Dan gets too cute and he leaves Vargas in too long. And sure enough, it bites him. And that grand slam happens, and suddenly everything flips. And then they come right back and they put pressure on you again. And you somehow survive that. And then Munoz hits Myers to start the ninth. It felt like this is inevitable. The Astros are inevitable, yada, yada, yada. Like, this is, and when you mix that in with the Mariners and the history of heartbreak that we have come to know as fans of this club, it just felt like this is bound to happen. And it didn't.
Right. So, maybe that's because this Mariner team is different. Yep. Maybe it's because, it just happened to be that way tonight. Either way, it's hard to escape that feeling, particularly in that ballpark. And the Mariners have played well in that ballpark for the last couple of years there. But, early on in even pre-rebuild, the 2016, 2017 clubs, like, that place was a place of nightmares. It was stuff where it was, that ball would fall in the past, and every fly ball to left field would end up in the Crawford boxes, and you'd throw wild pitches and you'd make the error and then immediately give up the home run. Like, it was just one of those places. And, tonight is about the boys, and it's about Victor, and it's about George and Cal and all of them. But, I did on my drive out here to the studio, I was thinking a little bit about Scott Service tonight as a guy who, his fingerprints are all over this ball club still. And it was him who decided that, enough is enough. We're not going to be bullied by these Astros. We're going to take the fight to them. And he really changed the culture of how this team handles the Houston Astros. And it's been a couple of years. Unfortunately, he's not here to finish the job that he kind of started, but he put these building blocks in place for this culture and for this vibe to go into this ballpark and not think that the worst can possibly happen. The only thing that can happen is the bad thing. The Mariners have had success in that ballpark for the last 4 or 5 years, really since they came out of the rebuild. And I think a big part of that credit has to go to Scott. Again, not to take anything away from Dan or anybody in play in the game tonight. They're the stars, but I was thinking a little bit about Scott on the way over. I was just like, it's kind of a shame that he's not around to see the fruits of his labor, because he does deserve a lot of the credit for this team and for the culture that was already there. I'm not saying it didn't need to be tweaked, but yeah, I thought of Scott as the guy who kind of really refused to back down from the Astros. He would get in Dusty Baker's face. He would call him out for all the stuff. He was not afraid to be the one to really push this idea that like the Astros are the bully and you just kind of have to cower. No, he never allowed his players to do that. And tonight we're seeing the fruits of that labor, and it's awesome that now look, the Mariners still have to finish the job, obviously.
Yeah.
But the fact that you went into their house and you may have potentially ended their 10-year reign of running this division in their house with their 2 best guys on the mound, mind you, and you did that to them in front of their fans. I mean, because let's be honest, aside from the Grand Slam, this series hasn't been close. The Mariners clearly the better team. And yes, the Astros are without Yordan Alvarez. I understand that. That's huge. Undoubtedly, that's
13
huge.
guys on the injured list or whatever it is.
Right. There are factors here, and the lonely Astros fan who likes to come to our comments to try to pick fights sometimes. Haven't seen him around much lately, but whatever.
But you look at what they still have in spite of all those injuries. It's a very good team. That's a team that I respect the hell out of, just from a pure baseball standpoint. Obviously hate them as a Mariners fan, but like that is a very, very good that is a very, very good baseball team. There are no free outs in that lineup. They have a very good pitching staff.
Their guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
the Astros are the bar. Like that is the goal, is to be the Astros, to make deep playoff runs every year, to win the division every year, to just constantly recycle new players and develop new stars, and not being afraid to let guys walk because we'll just replace them with what we have in house, and not being afraid to spend a little bit of money here and there, but without having to go massive in free agency. They let Garrett Cole walk, they let Carlos Correa walk. They're not afraid to let these guys walk. And they just dominated the American League for the last decade. And so that's what you strive to do. Now, maybe the tactics are different. You certainly don't want the reputation that the Astros have across the league. But a big part of that is because they're so good. They're so good. And they have been for a decade. And you went into their house and you beat them up in front of their fans. Again, take the Grand Slam out of it. Those 2 games weren't close. The Mariners were clearly the better team. And we can talk about, they don't have Yordan, and that's fair. Again, I will acknowledge that. But you also beat Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez on their home turf in back-to-back starts to take, destiny into your own hands to win this division. That's huge. And I think this has kind of been the culmination of a lot of hard work from guys who aren't even here anymore, like Scott Service, to also guys like JP Crawford and Julio Rodriguez, guys who have been here throughout this entire kind of, punching back against the Astros over the last few years. And, the Astros still got you in the playoffs. They still won this division X number of times. So it's not like you're going to vanquish that dragon, on your first try, or it's not like it's vanquished right now. No, it's still very much alive. But the fact that you went in there and you've dominated this series outside of 2 innings, you've been the better team.
Yeah.
I think that says something.
Well, and again, it's a grand slam given up by your 5th, 6th best guy in your bullpen.
Yeah. To their best guy. Yeah.
And so outside of that, it was 10-0 in the Mariners' favor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that's what was so upsetting about how this game kind of, ended outside of obviously the catch. It's like you were cruising.
Mm-hmm.
You had snatched their soul. And then, grand slam happens, but it is what it is. And you survived it, and whatever, you're going for a very important sweep tomorrow. And we'll talk about that a little later on, but now we're going to talk about George Kirby, what he was able to do in this one. He was fantastic tonight. We'll go over his night in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Zippix. This episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com and use the promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 years old or older to order. Warning. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. For instant reactions following every Mariners game, be sure to tune into the Mariners postcast with Anderson Hurst and Christopher Crawford, available on both the Locked On Mariners YouTube and podcast feeds. George Kirby picked up right where Brian Wu left off last night. And, you know, at first I was like, I don't know about this because he was getting into some deeper counts. He was kind of missing his spots a little bit. I was like, I don't know. But then, you know, the bigger the lead got for the Mariners, it felt like the more he settled in. And like the 4th and 5th inning, especially the 5th inning, really, like he just started dominating this Astros lineup. That 5th inning where he dotted up Jesus Sanchez and that got Espada ejected. And by the way, the other ejection was their hitting coach, for those of you that were confused, because there was thought that it was Jesus Sanchez who got ejected, and then Espada didn't leave the dugout and blah, 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 blah. That finally got sorted out. That was the whole thing. But yeah, it was their hitting coach, and then it was Espada. Those were the 2 ejections there. But that was like the sickest George Kirby has looked all year long. In that 5th inning, especially. And then in the 6th inning, gets into some trouble there. Gets a couple of big strikeouts against Correa and Paredes. And Dan leaves him in there to face Altuve. And he gets a huge ground out to finish that thing off. It was awesome. George Kirby was fantastic tonight. 7 strikeouts, just 5 hits, no walks over 6 innings. And they really needed those 6 innings. We'll see, you know, what shape this bullpen is in, you know, for tomorrow. But yeah, and that's, you know, a very important game, like we're going to be talking about, you know, a little later on. But yeah, man, George was awesome tonight. Yeah,
it was like you said, it was a little touchy there in the first couple innings, and it just kind of like, you know, he was around 45, 50 pitches after 2, and you're just kind of like, you know, with Wu unfortunately leaving the game last night, which shame on 2 accounts. A, you don't want Brian Wu to be hurt. We'll see if the pec thing apparently it was a pec injury. Apparently they don't think they're going to put him on the IL, but they might skip a start, blah, blah, blah. So relatively good news there.
Kind of feels like done for the regular season, but should be good to go for the postseason.
If you get in, sure. So it's one of those things where it's like, A, yeah, that's the reason it sucks. But B, it also sucks because, well, it looked like Brian Wu was about to make a generational start in one of the biggest games in franchise history. And you had to use more guys in your bullpen than you otherwise would have. Like Wu was probably getting through 7 at least last night. And you could have saved Brash and you could have saved Bizzardo if that had happened. And it just, you know, unfortunately it didn't go that way. So George tonight is kind of like, oh man, is this going to be another 5-inning game? And they're going to have to try and make this work. And he gets through 6 and he just went right after the Astros. He threw 100 pitches. This makes the percentages incredibly easy. He threw 50 sinkers in this game and 20 fastballs. Like it was half of his pitches were 2-seam fastballs. 75% of his pitches were fastballs in general. And then he threw 70 pitches were fastballs, threw 25 sliders. He didn't really throw the knuckle curve. He didn't throw the split. He's kind of shelved that pitch. He didn't throw with the changeup really. He was just going right after these guys with sinkers. And, you know, the sinker is not a great pitch to get swing and miss, but it was a really good pitch for him tonight to get a called strike, which is just as good as a swing and miss. It is a strike. with no opportunity to do damage against it. So he had 4 whiffs on the sinker on 22%. That's actually not terrible for a two-seamer. It's not a swing and miss pitch, but he had 15 called strikes on that pitch. So he threw 50 two-seamers and 33 of them were strikes. He was dotting it up on the corner. He had a 38% called strike plus whiff on that two-seamer. He dominated with that pitch. That's a pitch we typically associate him throwing against lefties, and there's not lefties in this lineup. There's Caratini and Sanchez tonight, and that was it. So, George just went right after these guys. He worked up in the zone. He worked down. He worked the corners for the most part, and he just went right after these guys. And the Astros are a good fastball hitting club, and George did not care.
The best in the league, right?
I think so. He was going right after him. Like, Brian Wu has, one of the best fastballs in baseball. And even he was mixing it up a little bit last night because of the Astros' ability to hit the fastball.
Yeah.
George just didn't care. He just threw it. He said, my fastball is better than you guys. And tonight he was right. So, give him a lot of credit. We sometimes like to point out that George is a bit of a head case. And when things don't go his way, when a mistake gets made behind him, or he doesn't get the run support he thinks he needs, or he gets to the end of the line, he'll just kind of start packing it in and just kind of grooving fastballs and all that. And he didn't tonight. He dialed it in when he really needed to. And he gave the Mariners 6 excellent innings tonight, which, he usually does against the Astros. There is something about this matchup that he always seems to really be able to dial it in for. And it's a matchup that on paper really shouldn't favor him because they hit the fastball so well. And George is all about the fastball. But he dominated
the zone with that fastball.
Right. He dominated the zone with that fastball tonight, and he dominated the Astros like he often does. And when the moment got the biggest, he was at his best. And that is something that George has been known to do. And it's also been known to go the other way at times. And tonight it was Furious George, the good one, not the one who's, I don't care. I'm being disrespected by being asked to get 3 more outs. So I'm going to just throw fastballs down the middle of the plate and who cares? Like, no, this is dialed in George Kirby, and it's great to see because you needed it after what you saw from Wu last night, and just in general, just to dial it up for the playoffs, knowing that he's going to get the ball, and the second or third game more than likely. You needed to see a start like this, and he gave you one against a playoff quality team and a playoff quality lineup, and he shoved. So it was great to see.
A playoff quality atmosphere too.
Yep.
Yeah, This was a very mature start by George Kirby. I think I texted you this. Like, that 6th inning was character development for George.
Right.
This was also a really good night for the offense. Last night they just did it with the solo home run. Tonight they did it more so in a variety of ways. Cal Raleigh with his 57th home run of the season. He is now the leader, all alone, the most home runs in a single season in Seattle Mariners history. And he did so because Framber Valdez tried him. He paid the price for it. It was very interesting because last night, Hunter Brown clearly wanted no piece of Cal.
No.
He was very avoidant of him. Cal walked twice last night, but Framber went after him, and Cal got him. Drives that ball into the Astros bullpen. I don't know if you saw the moment after the game where
the Astros gave him the ball.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cal, again, what else can we say? Just special dude, special season. But this offense as a whole did exactly what we talked about yesterday that I wanted to see from them. And they did it against Hunter Brown last night. They did it against Framber. They annoyed the hell out of Framber tonight. And what is possibly going to be his very last start in that stadium for the Astros.
Could be.
They fouled off pitches. They got a couple of big walks. And most importantly, they started this game off by converting a 2-out nobody on walk into a run and a bloop single into a run. That's playoff baseball right there.
Yeah, I mean, tonight the offense didn't do it with the home run ball. Last night it was all home runs.
Yeah.
And that is the formula to win in October. You have to hit home runs. You have to outpitch your opponent. You do those two things, you're going to win 95% of your games in the postseason. Tonight, they only had the one home run.
Yeah.
It was the Cal Raleigh blast. But you think of the A. Eugenio double, the first one. You think of, how about Josh Naylor creating a run himself with a bloop single, a stolen base, tagging up on a medium deep fly ball to center field to get to third, and then scoring on a sacrifice fly. Like, Naylor created a run with his legs. The slowest guy in baseball. Like,
and Garver and Robles not trying to do too much in those situations, just making sure that they can get a fly ball deep enough to advance him and then score him. Like, it was
against
just
an extreme
beautiful
ground ball pitcher.
Yeah, it was just beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Yep. So, I mean, it just felt like everybody tonight in the lineup had a good at bat. They had a contribution, whether it showed up in the box score or not. Maybe with the exception of Randy, went 0 for 5, but he did have 3 hard hit balls. They were all ground balls.
Well, and he had that one in the right center field gap that, Cam Smith had to make that leaping catch on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, again, like Cal had the home run. Julio scored 2 runs. He had a hit and a walk. Gino had a couple doubles in this one. Kind of right now he's in a great game, bad game kick. Although 2 in a row, we can call it.
And him and Randy have kind of traded off slumps here.
Yeah.
Which
see what happens.
It's gonna happen. Not all 9 guys in your lineup for the most part are going to be cooking at the same time.
No, but
and so you kind of hope. Yeah. Well, and this is kind of how you hope it goes, right? Where like, all right, one guy's slumping, but then he starts to get it going as another guy, starts to slump, right? And you just kind of pass off the baton. And so that's what we're seeing right now.
I mean, Randy was the only guy who didn't reach base. Even Mitch Garver, who went 0 for 2, he had a big fly ball that moved the runner, and that led to a run. So, the offense tonight was really good. It was a little bit different. Again, just the one home run. When the Mariners score 6 runs, it's usually because they hit 3 home runs or so. But tonight it was they hit a home run. They moved guys around the bases and got them in with less than 2 outs. They stole bases. They did everything. They emptied the bag here, and they frustrated Framber by being pest on the bases and taking bigger leads and kind of forcing him to step off and to make throws and all that. And they got in his head a little bit, as the Mariners do. We talked about this. The game plan with Framber is always the same with the Mariners. And sometimes Framber gets them, and sometimes they get him. And there's no change on either side. They do what they do, and this is our plan. This is his plan against us. And tonight, the Mariners got Framber, which is nice to see, and secured a series win. So, the offense I thought was solid. Kudos to Dan for going to Dom Can zone early as a pinch hitter with the bases loaded and 2 outs, and not just, Garver's the veteran and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, it's the 5th inning. It was 5th inning. And
Dom drives in a run.
Yeah. So kudos to him there. Like I said, everybody in this lineup, it felt like they had a moment tonight that really contributed to the win. And that's great to see. And I know we're going to move off the game now in a second, but I wanted to point out, we haven't mentioned the name Gabe Spire yet today. And that feels like a crime, because Gabe Spire was what he's been all year, a dog. So Bizzardo falls a little bit short. He's tired. He's exhausted. He's running on fumes. That off day, he needs it more than just about anybody. But he still got you 2 good outs. And then in comes Spire to face a righty, representing the winning run, probably. Doesn't have the platoon matchup, and in that ballpark in particular, it takes one bad pitch for this to be a brand new ball game. And he didn't. He threw 3 fastballs, and good morning, good afternoon, good night. Walker didn't have a prayer, and it was just awesome to see. And it really set them up to win this game. So, give a lot of credit to Gabe Spire tonight. He comes in, he throws 3 pitches, faces 1 batter, and has arguably, Victor
kind of a
had
theme on this road
out.
trip for Gabe Spire, by the way.
Yeah, he's feeling good. He had arguably the biggest out of this game until Victor did his thing and got 2.
Yeah.
So, Gabe Spire
before
overlooked.
Victor just had to make it all about himself.
Sure, right. Gabe Spire though continues to be overlooked, just like Bizzardo in this bullpen. But they're every bit as good, probably better than Matt Brash right now, and they are quickly becoming a 3-headed monster in the back end of that bullpen with Munoz, who again just tonight very clear. Munoz didn't have it tonight. He's running on fumes a little bit. 3 days in a row is tough for anybody. And he was so good the last 2 times out. Yeah, and probably he wasn't thinking he was going to pitch tonight until about the 7th inning, So, Munoz just didn't really have it tonight. But thankfully, Gabe Spire did, and he got the biggest out of the game, until the last 2. So it didn't last long, but I just wanted to make sure we talked about Gabe because he was great tonight.
Yeah, sure. Well, speaking of the bullpen, what shape is this bullpen going to be for tomorrow night? Sunday Night Baseball. Mariners have a chance to sweep the Astros, all but really secure the AL West. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks and 5 Hour Energy. This episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, easy, and a great way to follow along with football. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, folks, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power you through your day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. In golf, is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. And now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters Tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast of the series finale between the Astros and the Mariners tomorrow night on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern. Who's going to be available in the Mariners bullpen tomorrow night? Because we know that if the Mariners are going to win that game, they're going to need innings out of their bullpen, most likely. I mean, score 15 runs tomorrow. Maybe try that. That'd be great. But
be good to get vintage Logan who goes 7 most nights instead of going 5.
Yeah, that would be great too. But tomorrow feels like, again, if the Mariners are going to win this one, feels like it's going to have to be a big night for both Gabe Spire and Matt Brash.
And also probably Caleb Ferguson, which not a particularly good matchup for him. There aren't many lefties in this lineup, but you got to do what you got to do. I can't imagine with how he looked tonight that they're going to push Munoz for a 4th straight day. I can't imagine they're going to push Bizzardo for a 4th straight game, although that's more believable than doing it to Munoz.
He threw 2 innings last night. I was like, there is no way he's available tonight.
Yeah. So I mean, look, the interesting thing here is that obviously tomorrow's a big game, but also you have, no matter what happens tomorrow, you are in the driver's seat of winning this division. You're essentially up 2 games, even if you lose tomorrow with 6 to go. So there is kind of that like, hey, do we really want to push for this sweep? Because again, if you sweep, it's more or less over at that point. But do you want to push it? And do you want to ask guys to do things they haven't done? Like asking any reliever to go 4 days in a row is a lot, regardless of the time of the year. But they do have that off day on Monday. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle that, especially if Logan can only go 5. Like if Logan goes 7, you're okay, Brash and Spire, however the matchups work out. We'll just use those 2 guys and hopefully that'll be enough. But, if he only goes 5, you're going to have to, I mean, you're probably going to have to use Luke Jackson. You're probably going to have to use Caleb Ferguson. You might have to use Vargas again. Like, ooh, and none of that is that inspiring. It's almost like they should have gone and gotten another high leverage guy at the deadline, but what do I know? So yeah, it's just, it's going to be dicey tomorrow, especially if Logan can only give you 5, which, I mean, to be fair, is basically what he's done all year. So I don't think it's reasonable to plan on him giving you more. But it'd be great if he did. Be great if he did. Or again, the Mariners could score 15 runs off of this guy I've never heard of who's pitching tomorrow, the Costanza
Jason
kid.
Alexander, who's actually been pretty good this year.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, tomorrow's game is important, but it's not nearly as, like, imagine the scenario if the Mariners did lose tonight and then Bizzardo and Munoz weren't available tomorrow. Like,
that's what
they
I'm saying.
Probably would have to be available tomorrow if they lost tonight. So it's just
that's
what
I was
things.
saying earlier on in the show. Like, you would be in very scary territory had you blown this game.
Yes, you're this close to disaster. And I don't know who's going to be available tomorrow. Spire will be. Brash will be.
Yeah.
Everybody in theory, but Munoz and Bizzardo should be. But
Emerson Hancock is closing out this game, isn't he?
I mean, I watched the Mariners win a game in this stadium with Ty France playing second base. Like, anything is possible. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it'd be great if you could have like a 4, 5, 6 run lead and actually hold it into the 8th and the 9th inning, so that you could just be like, hey, yeah, we could go with Vargas here, because if he gives up a home run, we're still okay. But I mean, yeah, it's going to be tough tomorrow with the bullpen, and it's great that you're playing with house money, but you kind of can't treat tomorrow like a throwaway game either. So it's going to be a really interesting balancing act for Dan and Pete and the analytics staff to kind of try and figure out a plan to get through this and to see what they can do, because the temptation, in a 2-run game or whatever in the 9th inning to go to Munoz and essentially end the division race right then and there is going to be large. But it's a big risk too, not only to losing the game, but to Munoz's health right before the playoffs. Yeah. So it's going to be something. I would assume that Munoz and Bizzardo are out tomorrow, basically no matter what. That would be my assumption. But we'll have to see, because again, the off day on Monday does help. And obviously the circumstances of trying to secure the division also come into play. So it's just one of those things where you can't really think about long-term thinking this late in the year, but it's not even really long-term thinking now. It's just about health and effectiveness of the guys who are clearly running on fumes right now.
Yeah. I think another thing is, like, what is the energy going to look like from the Astros side? My guess is it's not going to be a problem because they're a veteran ball club that's been there, done that. They've won championships, all that. Yeah.
I mean, their season is on the line tomorrow. If the season ended today, the Astros would not be in the playoffs. Yeah. So they're not going to come and just lay an egg, and they have all of their high leverage guys will be available tomorrow. So if Alexander gets into a little bit of a funk early in the game tomorrow, they'll probably use them early and they'll be aggressive with it. So you are at a disadvantage tomorrow. This is where you really need Logan Gilbert to step up. Like, you've been waiting for Logan to be him all year. Tomorrow's the day where you absolutely need it. And we'll just have to kind of wait and see how he looks. It's a real, roll of the dice whenever Logan goes out to the mound right now.
But yeah, if you win this game tomorrow, I mean, it pretty much puts the division on ice. At that point,
you
your
have
magic
to win
number,
a series against the Rockies, and the Astros need to lose one game.
Yeah, like the difference here is a magic number of 5 or a magic number of 3 going into the homestand. Mm-hmm. I prefer the latter, personally.
I believe your magic number is the same for both the wild card and the division now.
Yeah, it is.
Because Cleveland won't stop winning.
And now you're a full game up on the 2 seed. Well, technically 2, because you have the tiebreaker on the Tigers, and that doesn't change if the Guardians take the lead there in the AL Central. It could very well happen considering how both of those teams are going, and they play one another. coming up. So yeah, honestly, I think the Guardians are winning that division. I really do.
Sure seems like it, but we'll see. I mean, it takes one Detroit sweep, and all of a sudden, all that hard work was for nothing.
We might be scoreboard watching the Guardians for a different reason, though. I'll just say that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, like, if you win tomorrow, you have the opportunity to potentially make the Dodgers series meaningless.
At least for playoff.
At least as far as the division and the playoffs goes. Mm-hmm. Probably seeding is still going to be up in the air heading into that series.
Right.
But I mean, that would take a lot of pressure off of you, especially going into a series where the Dodgers might still be playing for the NL West.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
That is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Teddy Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Teddy Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.